Well, I realized quickly that I'm a lot funnier on DVD in the U.S. than I am here in Scotland. Let's go ahead and address the obvious question in everybody's mind. How many of you guys found it really weird to watch a DVD of a guy with a guy on the DVD stood behind you and watched himself on DVD? There is a reason why we do that. Number one is we want you guys to understand how simple what we do is. So even if Ashley and I are in the room, we still just press play. Because we want you guys to know that if you want to be successful at this, all you have to do is be able to press blend on the blender and play on a DVD player. Who feels like they can do that, right? If you can do those two things, you're all right. And then the second reason is it allows me to talk about, or spend my time with you guys talking about other things than just the basics that you saw on the DVD. So I want to spend a few minutes with you guys telling you, a little bit about what our company's done based on the information that's not on that DVD. My quick backstory. I'm originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have a very blue-collar, middle-class upbringing. All four of my grandparents, they worked for the exact same factory, so it kind of had a trickle-down effect. My dad, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, all worked at that exact same factory. So, I didn't know what I wanted to quote-unquote be when I grew up, but I knew what I didn't want to be. And I didn't want to be working at that factory, right? So I remember as a kid always daydreaming that I wanted to be quote-unquote rich one day. Did any of you guys as a kid ever daydream about being rich one day? The rest of you guys as a kid, you daydreamed about being poor one day? I don't know about that. So we all daydream about being rich one day, but there's no education platform for that, right? So there's no class that's called Wealth 101. Otherwise, we all would have attended that class. So if you do have that dream of being financially successful one day, you watch television, you go, okay, well, I could be an actor or actress, I could be a rock star, I could be a rapper, I could do something illegal, or I could be a professional athlete. Those are pretty much your 5 options if you don't come from a wealthy family and you're like, I want to be really successful financially one day. So I can't act, I can't sing or play an instrument, I can't rhyme, I'm not a good liar, so illegal's out, but I was really good at sports. So I went on and played college baseball, and while I was playing baseball, I was introduced to the number one way that financial success is created for people all around the world, and it was called entrepreneurship. And I had no idea that entrepreneurship was even an option. It was never said in any class. It was never brought up once. It was not in any books. And I understand why. It's because our teachers were not entrepreneurs, so they couldn't teach a subject that they knew anything about, that didn't know anything about. So, I found an entrepreneur who taught me entrepreneurship. I started my own home-based business in the direct selling world when I was 18 years old. And I did not have any success at it whatsoever. It took me multiple years to begin to have success at it. But by the time I was 22, 23 years old, I was in a position where I was making almost as much per month as my peers were making per year graduating from college. So they had spent 5 years, and this is US data, they had spent 5 years going to university to graduate to make about $36,000 a year, and 9 out of 10 of them were working in jobs unrelated to what they got their degree in, and they were $50,000 in debt. 5 years, 50 grand in debt to make $36,000 a year, 90% of the time to work a job that had nothing to do with what you got $50,000 in debt for. Meanwhile, I built a business and became an entrepreneur on the side, and by the time I was 23 years old, was making about $25,000 a month as opposed to a year. And it was an amazing lifestyle. It moved from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Southern California. As your resources increase, so do your allergies, and I became very allergic to snow. And any of you guys, anybody feel like you're getting allergic to snow recently? Right? So I became very allergic to snow. I moved to Southern California, and I lived literally 2 houses from the water. And I'd wake up every morning, Monday through Friday. I'd walk across the street. I'd go down about 8:30 in the morning. I'd touch my toes in the water and say, today I beat the system, Monday. I'd come back the next day. Today I beat the system, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you could look to the right, you could look to the left for miles, and there was nobody there. Where was everybody at Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. in the morning? Work, right? There was just me and a couple of homeless guys, and we were high-fiving the whole time. This is awesome. And at that point in my life, everyone who did not know me automatically assumed I was one of 2 things. Like, all right, he's got a lot of money, he goes to the beach every day, he doesn't seem to work, he's really young, drives a nice car. He's either a rich kid, because there's a lot of rich kids in Orange County, California, and if he's not a rich kid, then he must be a what? Supermodel. Yeah, you guys know. No? Nobody, okay. One guy in the back there's someone like this. He didn't even crack a smile. So you are right. That was it doesn't matter what country I'm in or what language that I tell the joke in, everybody does yell out supermodel. So after a while that bothered me, or excuse me, out of the gates it bothered me, and then after a while I realized they didn't have a problem with me, they had a problem with what they were taught. Because what they were taught ever since they were this tall is that type of success is just not what? Starts with P. Possible. Oh, that's not possible. That's not possible. Oh, what's been given to them? Oh, what's been done illegally? It's not possible. And I began to realize that the people who said that, they were kind of right. That type of success is not possible. ... And what they were doing. I wasn't doing what they were doing. So for them, it was impossible that could happen. It was impossible that it wasn't given to me. It was impossible that I could create that. It's not possible. Because when you work a traditional job, that type of money is not possible with time freedom. There's only two choices if you work a traditional career or if you're traditionally self-employed. You have a lot of money and no time because you're always working to get it. How many of you guys know some people that have a lot of money and no time because they're always working, right? Or you have the opposite problem. You have a lot of time and no money because you're never working. How many of you guys know the people with a lot of time and no money, right? Now there's a third category that's rapidly increasing in growth. It's the group that has no time and no money. How many of you guys know that group really well, right? What's funny about that group is they're usually the most skeptical about becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm looking at them going, you're 0 for 2. You didn't get one of them right. No time, no money, I'd be skeptical about what you're doing because obviously that's not working. If there's any way to turn all the lights on because, so I can see the faces, that would be fantastic. My perspective was I just wanted to help people become entrepreneurs because it wasn't taught in school, and I found a way that I could become an entrepreneur that was taught to me, and I wanted to share it with as many people who were, here's the key word, searching for the possibility. That's it. Finding the people who were searching for the possibility. Is there anybody in this room that finds himself, daydreaming at work or up late at night searching for the possibility? Meaning there's got to be something else out there, right? And there are some people. That's probably why you're down here. But I also know that there's a lot of you here tonight that have no desire to become entrepreneurs. And I want you to know that's completely okay. Some of you guys are only interested in losing some weight, getting on the challenge, gaining some muscle mass, and I don't want you to feel at all, from me or anyone else, that you have to be interested in entrepreneurship to take the challenge, because you don't. The grand majority of people that take the challenge are not entrepreneurs with us. So let's talk a little bit about how our company came to be. In my search of wanting to create entrepreneurs, I was able to combine two passions together into one. Number one, the ability to create entrepreneurs through starting people in home-based businesses. And number two, being able to get in the health and fitness arena, which was always my passion growing up as an athlete. I've always eaten right, I've always worked out, and I've always supplemented. So now to be able to combine those two worlds together was my personal utopia. And 3.5 years ago, the Body by Vi Challenge was founded. We launched the Body by Vi Challenge. We're an 8-year-old company, and we just were around for 4.5 years before we launched the Body by Vi Challenge. And in launching the challenge, in just 3.5 years, we have become the #1 largest 90-day weight loss and fitness challenge in the world. We have become the 2nd largest overall weight loss company in North America. We have become the #1 most consumed meal replacement shake in North America. We've helped 2.5 million people consume 500 million, that's 500 million meal replacement shakes, losing tens of millions of pounds in just 3.5 years. Some of you guys think that's pretty impressive, right? That's pretty impressive. The reason why I want you to key in on that is I want you to understand that this is a heck of a lot bigger than 200 people getting together here today. It's a lot bigger than some crazy or something your crazy cousin's doing, right? You know, sometimes we're like, man, my crazy cousin's crazy. I don't know what they're up to. I can assure you, your crazy cousin did not make the shake in his bathtub and put it in a bucket, right? This is the second largest weight loss company, and when you think about this, the third and the fourth largest companies in weight loss in North America are Jenny Craig and Nutrisystems. They did about 420 million last year in sales. We did about 620 million last year. We're 50% larger than Jenny Craig in 3 years, and it took them 30 to get to where they're at. Where do you think we'll be over the next 3 years? The only company larger than us now in weight loss in North America is Weight Watchers, and they know we're coming. Like they know we're coming so much so that if you'll drink our shake and you'll get on our challenge, they'll give you points on the Weight Watcher system. Right? That's what I know. I mean, as a founder of our company and I'm in strategy meetings, I can't get over. I want to know how that decision was made. Like I want to know how the meeting went. Like, what do we do about these guys? I got it. Let's give them points on our system if they take their stuff, right? So, bottom line, gang, is we've had a lot of significant success, and we chose to come to the UK for one reason only. It's the third most obese region in the world, the third most obese country in the world, if you will. And you know, us being number one. And we have a passion. Our passion is to be the number one company in the history of the planet to fight the obesity epidemic. We're not trying to be the number one seller of shakes, though we will be. We're not trying to be the number one weight loss company, though we will be. What we're trying to do, the mission, the cause, and the focus of the company is to be the number one company in the history of the planet to fight the obesity epidemic. That's why we grow so fast. We're not just another company trying to sell stuff just to sell stuff. We're trying to make a social difference by creating entrepreneurs to be extremely successful by fighting the number one problem and the number one fastest growing epidemic in the world today. It is the leading cause. The leading cause of all preventable disease is what? Obesity. The leading cause of all preventable diseases is obesity. So all the things you think of that take your friends and family, diabetes and heart disease and all these things, they're a byproduct of what? Obesity. They're a byproduct of obesity. And if we can go fight that problem, we can make a lot of difference. You know, I look at this next piece of data, and if there's nothing that I share with you guys today that has any meaning, please let this be the one thing you take away. For the first time ever in humanity, which I've heard has been around for a pretty long time, right? So it's not like for the last 10 years. For the first time ever in humanity, there are more people classified as overweight than there are malnutrition. For the first time ever in history, there are more people with too much to eat or eating too much than there is with not enough to eat. I can remember as a kid growing up, the only thing on the news was starving nations, starving nations, starving nations. Now, for the next 20 years, all you're going to hear about is obese nations, obese nations. It's the opposite problem. And we will be the company that leads the attack in doing something about it. And in order to address the problem, you gotta kind of look at history, right? Because that kind of tells us where the problem came from. 100 years ago, this problem did not exist. You know, the American Medical Association just classified obesity as a disease. It's a disease, according to the AMA. And you know, there's a lot of people that argue that there is a disease of the brain of addiction to food. But I'll argue that what's changed is nothing but our choices. Our ability to choose things has changed over the last 100 years because obesity did not exist 100 years. So even if you were addicted, you had an obsession to food 100 years ago, you didn't have access to the things that you have access today. So it's the things that you have the ability to choose that are different. That's what's different. See, 100 years ago, what did everybody do for a living? 9 out of 10 people, what did they do? Farmed. They farmed. Almost everyone farmed for a living, right? And did you know